Oh, okay. Meagan, you are an actress, a best-selling author. You have your own production company. You have your own foundation. You just launched Good Girl Raps, which congratulations on that. And then on top of all of that, you're a wife too. And like, honestly, if with all you've accomplished as an actress, with all the films and the shows you've been in, I could have stopped at actress and everybody would be wowed because of how much you've accomplished. But it's the fact that you wear that hat and all those other ones so well. And of course, we're going to talk about how you balance it. But I'm curious to know, do you think that you fell into these things as you walked your path and had to take on these new roles and responsibilities? Or was this something that you always saw for yourself?
Yeah, let me close this window really quick because I feel like it's loud.
Okay.
Somebody's out here cutting their grass. Okay. Yeah, so acting for me was something as a child, I knew I wanted to do for fun, and it was more of a hobby. And it became something I was more serious about when I was about 13 because the neighborhood that I grew up in was a predominantly white neighborhood, and I dealt with a lot of racism, and I had a lot of trouble with teachers. And that particular year, going into my, I want to say 6th or 7th grade year, I didn't get the grades that I was supposed to get. And if you don't have a certain grade point average, you can't get a work permit as someone under 18. So I took a year off from acting, and I really missed it. And so I knew that this was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I'd say around 19, where I was kind of in that weird stage of child actor trying to transition to young adult. I wasn't working as much. And that was the first time that, I really was like, have I even asked God, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And so my prayer was, Lord, tell me if I'm doing what you want me to do. I want what you want for me more than what I want for myself. So give me confirmation or tell me which way to go. And in that season, I got confirmation that's what God wanted me to do. But I also got confirmation that it's not about acting and it's not about that career. Like, that's a blessing that I'm able to do it, but it's more about the platform and where he's taken me and what he wants me to do with the platform. And so everything else along the way have been things that have been revealed to me, with the foundation for mentorship, working with younger women, and the other things that are passions of mine have come up along the way as well. And one thing that I learned about your purpose in life is that it's always connected to the passion that God gives you in your heart. So whatever it is that you're really, really passionate about, chances are that's going to have something to do with the purpose of why you're here and what you should be doing specifically. So as I've gone along, writing the book and wanting to just be transparent about my experience and not wanting to be preachy at all or be like, oh, well, you should do this, but more like, this experience for me was transformative. It changed my life. It made me a better person. It gave me tools that have not just blessed me, personally as a human being, but it blessed my career, it blessed my marriage, it blessed my relationship with my family, with my finances. And so as I go along, I just started directing, and God just kind of reveals to me, the direction that he wants me to go. And I just try to really be obedient. I try to be, open to hearing. I try not to move on my own. I try to pray about every decision that I make, every, movie that I decide to do, a project I decide to do. I'm like, Lord, where are you in this? And are you in this? And there's been things that I've wanted to do that the Lord's like, I'm not in that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to do it. But so yeah, to answer your question, some of these things I knew I would be doing ultimately, but some of these things I hadn't anticipated. And, in God's timing and just being able to listen, I've kind of fallen into them, and it's been amazing.
I love that. And I love that you like, I'm not moving unless you hear, unless your name is on it, unless you want me to do it. It reminds me of this saying, I often say, I only want what divinely wants me, meaning if it's not something that God has assigned to my life, it's not it for me. And when you do hear something from God, and when he is like, no, Meagan, like, I want you to go into this space, into this arena, I want you to do this, and you have to add a new responsibility to your list, how do you figure out how you're going to balance it when you're already doing so many other things.
Right. I mean, most of it is God led, you know, I mean, all of it is God led, but ultimately when he gives me something new, you know, I'm big on lists. I write down everything because if I don't write it down, then I'm trying to remember it in my head and that can stress me out, or I'm afraid I'm going to forget something. And then when I write down the list, I prioritize, you know, I'm like, what am I supposed to move on first? What can I get done? If it's like a day where, you know, I've been working a lot and there's a lot going on, maybe I won't do the thing that's at the top of the priority. Maybe I'll choose like number 3 or number 4 because it might be, you know, easier to do that day, but just to give myself a little bit of a break and to take some stress off. And then I start fresh the next day with the first priority and make sure I get that done at the top of the day. And so I just try to balance my time, and also my quality of life. You know, it's not all about the work and getting it done. It's like, this is the day that I've been given. I will never get this day back. And so I have to choose to have the best day that I can have. I have to choose my attitude. I have to choose to some degree my stress level. What do I want to take on? What do I not want to take on? And I just try to create a balance for myself so that my quality of life and the quality of my day every single day is intentional.
I love that. Was there ever a point in time for you where you weren't really thinking about quality of life and it was just about the work getting done? And when did you have that turning point when you realized like, oh, I need to honor my whole being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in order to get this work done to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when I'm filming, you know, in the past, I would forget because, you know, you're talking about 15 to 20-hour days, you know, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, you know, like this is, you know, Monday through Friday, and it can be very stressful and you can feel like you're kind of like on the hamster wheel, and you can forget to be present because you're just trying to get it done. You're just trying to do a good job. And I used to, you know, to some degree, like really kind of stress myself out and not realize that I was stressing myself out. And I think the biggest turning point for me was probably about 5 years ago. I was on a project that was probably the most stressful thing that I've ever done, honestly. And I didn't feel like I was getting it right. And I felt like I was like not quite hitting the mark. And I was just putting so much pressure on myself to do a good job. I was the only Black person in the cast. It was a project that Steven Spielberg was attached to. And I was just like, you know, I got to do good. And what I realized is, you know, I wasn't being present in the day and appreciating what God had put in front of me. And I wasn't living in the moment and making those days intentionally. And so after, I'd say almost to the middle end of that project, when I became conscious of it, I just made a different choice. And I just told myself, like, listen, you deserve to be here. You're going to do the best that you can do. God is in it, but this is your day and you need to be present in this day and appreciate every single part of it, even if it's just your lunch, you know, or like talking to the young woman who's doing your makeup, or, you know, interacting with your castmates or learning your lines or whatever it is. Just be present in that and appreciative, and, you know, have that gratitude and make every day count. And after that, I just was really, I've been super, super conscious of it since then.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the emphasis on gratitude. And I love that you made, because we hear people say, oh, you need to be present, but you made it so plain and simple. Like it could be you conversing with your makeup artist. It could be you expressing gratitude for the day. And we miss those moments when we're only focused on the work. So I love that. And I want to know, okay, so now that you are in this space where you are choosing to live with intention, you're choosing to be present on a regular basis, have you found yourself, or have you ever been kind of put down because you do choose to honor your spirit or your emotional well-being, and you're not like preaching like, oh, I'm asleep when I die, grind all the time, like let's get to the work.
Right.
I read, sleep, eat, acting. All I do is look at my lines. Like, has someone ever tried to downplay your work ethic because you don't do that? How do you respond to it?
You know, people who do that, and I've definitely been in that situation, they're not fully happy yet. They haven't found that consciousness to be in gratitude and to take it moment by moment, because so many times we focus on wherever it is we're trying to go. And what you don't understand, or one of the things I didn't understand, was once you get there, you want to go somewhere else. And once you get there, you want to go somewhere else. And it's never quite what you thought it was going to be, even if it's great. But the real joy is in the process. The real joy is, as you're grinding, as you're making it happen, not just focusing on the grind, but again, being intentional and being present. That's where the joy is. That's where the exciting part of the journey is. And so I think when people get frustrated because, they're like, well, I'm trying to do this, why do you have that type of attitude, or why are you just okay? Or why, it's because they haven't found that yet. And I think just setting an example in love and not judging them and doing what you do regardless of what they say or what they think or they feel, and just doing it in love, I think goes a long way. And so that's what I really just try to do, is not take on the energy that they're bringing. Because I've definitely been, in certain situations where people come to work and they're stressed out and they have a bad attitude or things are not going their way. And I'm like, I'm not taking on that energy. Like, I'm gonna pray for them, God bless them. I'm gonna be nice, even if they're rude. I'm gonna give off the energy that I want to get back. And even if I don't get it back, I'm giving it off. So it's all in my space and I'm protected,
Yes, ma'am. I love that. We don't match energy over here. We raise up.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. So we have all these beautiful young ladies on the phone who are in college, and how would you recommend to them that they can find joy in having to study in quarantine, and they're not loving school, they're trying to figure, so in college you're like, I don't know what I want to do. You're switching majors, you're questioning so many things, and you're coming into yourself. How could they literally find joy, and how can they show up and be present in that moment so that they don't burn themselves out trying to get all A's or trying to get that internship or things set up after college?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you have your goals, you set your goals. Again, for me, I write down, like almost like a vision board, even if it's just like a list, where I know what it is I want to accomplish. I've written down some of the steps to accomplish it, but I don't make my whole day about it. I take a portion of my day and I allocate it to that and be intentional in that and be excited in that as well, because I know what I want to accomplish. And I know if I continue on this path that I will ultimately accomplish it. And part of that is trusting God. Part of that is faith. Part of that is asking God, am I going in the right direction? And if God confirms that for you, there's nothing for you to fear or worry about. Now, all you have to do is put your faith, your works behind your faith. And now all you have to do is just do the work and, but also in allocating that time, also allocate time for yourself to just be, just be present, thankful, happy, take care of yourself, pamper yourself a little bit, spend time with friends, talk to your parents, FaceTime, whatever you can do that's just for you, that takes care of you. You need a portion in every day to do that if you can. And I think that makes all the difference in the world in not getting overwhelmed and not feeling consumed by what you're trying to accomplish. But you still feel like you're getting things done at a pace that works for you, where you also have quality of life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you could have a conversation with 20-something-year-old Meagan, and like you could go back and visit her, and you needed to talk to her or give her some wisdom that would help her to live fully and not be in a stress mode to have both faith and works, but not one over the other. What would you say to her? What would you leave her with?
First thing I would tell her is, you're enough. You're good, girl. Like, God put it all inside of you. It's not even just about you and like what you think you're capable of. God put it inside you. You've got this. You're going exactly where he told you that you were going, even despite yourself, even despite mistakes you make along the way or shortcomings that you may feel that you have. At the end of the day, God has approved you. He's chosen you for this, and he's going to take you all the way there. So do the best that you can to do the work, but don't stress yourself out, girl. Enjoy life. Enjoy the life that God has given you, and trust him over yourself.
That part. Trust him over yourself. Because that, I feel like that's when, for me personally, that's when I've seen things go awry, when my work ethic starts being my source of approval or my source of like confirmation that this is supposed to work. Oh, because I put in all of these hours, because I worked so hard, this is going to happen. And God will humble you so quick to let you
Oh
know,
yeah.
oh, no, 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 no. That's not you. That's me. That's what I've placed in you. You're just a vessel. And I feel like I remember one time I was tripping about something that I had to do for the mentorship. I was worried about things coming together and locking our partners in. And God was like, humble yourself. You're just a vessel. And it like relieved me in so many capacities because it's like a wow, so you really think that this is all you? No,
That part.
it's not. It's really not. And I think that
That part.
you can gain confidence and just be free in knowing that like your path has already been created and that you literally just have to walk in it. It helps you to pivot and realize like, oh, so it's not really about the work. It's about me getting aligned so that I can hear what direction to take. So if you aren't well spiritually, you can forget about hearing that. If you aren't well emotionally, you can forget about even setting up the time to try and hear that. You have to have the mental bandwidth in the space. And like you were saying earlier, you have to cut out that portion of your day so that you can have that time. Because if you don't, like life is going to take that from you. Like life happens, people are going to call you, pull on you. You're going to have work to do. You're going to have responsibilities. And unless you are intentional, again, speaking back to you saying you decided you were going to be intentional about being present. Unless you decide, it's just not going to happen. And the last question I want to ask you is actually going to transition perfectly into the workshop. When I was talking to your team, I was telling them like, yeah, we want to do help the girls do a morning routine because it's a really tangible tool. And he was like, oh, that's so funny. Meagan just talked about how important it is for her to keep her phone off in the mornings before she starts her day. And I was like, oh, that's a major key because you're actually, can you tell us why you do that? Why that's important for you in the mornings and how that's, speaking to your intention on making sure you're present throughout your day?
Yeah. So I make sure my ringer's off in the morning. I make sure when I get up, I don't touch that phone. My first moment, period, point blank, is I wake up and I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you for allowing me to be alive. Thank you for your grace, for your mercy. Thank you, Lord. I say my prayer, I have my moment of meditation. I speak affirmations over myself, which are, God, I'm your child. I am dearly loved. It's hard for me to say them when I'm like saying them this way. God, I'm your child. I am dearly loved. My mind's going blank. But at the end, I get into, I am worthy. I am new. I am righteous, and just I speak over myself what he says about me versus how I sometimes feel about myself, And after that, I read my word and, I might read a little, I might read a lot. I might end up, researching certain things on Google, whatever it is, but I just take that time to really press into him to start my day. Because now whatever comes my way, I'm equipped to handle it because I am emotionally and spiritually in tune, already connected, prepared for anything that might go wrong or awry, with just the right mindset to know that God is in it and to have peace in my heart, regardless of what happens, and to just really trust him. And that takes so much just stress off me. Like something could happen. I could, pop a tire on the way to work and I'd be like, God's in it. It's going to be fine, versus, 12 years ago, if I had popped a tire, I've been like, Lord, I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? I just would have had the whole breakdown. I'd be late, but I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to be late. God's in it. He's already got me, And then also when I get into my car, the first thing I do is listen to a gospel music. Like, even if I'm listening mindlessly and I'm not really singing along, I just make sure the first thing that goes into my spirit is of God and that it sets my intention. It reminds me who I am. It reminds me that I'm loved. Even if I'm not necessarily thinking about it, subconsciously it goes into my spirit. And I just make sure that that's the first order of everything in my day. Because, as soon as you pick up your phone, you got a million texts. You've got people pulling on you, asking you to do things. You go on social media and you see certain things that may or may not make you feel a way. And so to me, to combat just everything and just make it about God, that for me has been a game changer. And I've been doing that for 12 years now, almost 13 years now. And and any day that I wake up and I'm rushing and I don't get it done, my day feels completely different. I feel out of whack. I feel like something's a little bit off, you know? And God still gives me grace, but it's a different ball game when I everything else that I make a priority that I give my time to. If I make him the first one and give my time completely to that, it just changes the dynamic of the entire day.
Major key. Because when you do that, you're literally fueling your body, your spirit, your mind with
Absolutely.
a divine power that's going to carry you throughout that day. That's the major key. And so much of that is going to go into the morning routine that we're going to talk to everyone about. So ladies, go ahead and cut your cameras back on. You're still going to be on mute, but we're going to walk you through a workshop on how you can use a morning routine. And it's not a one size fit all type thing, but it will help you to figure out what you need for yourself. And we'll have some guidelines that will definitely help you to honor your mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being, which will optimize your body for success. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me blow this up. And I wonder if I can move. Okay. So before we get into it, I mean, you've heard Meagan talk about it, but we want to give you like some points on why these morning routines can be so helpful and they're so important. The first point is that they combat decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is what psychologists explain as the idea that your decision-making power deteriorates throughout the day. So like if you're constantly working out at the gym, eventually you'll need to give your muscles a rest so that they can recover and power back up. AKA, like in this instance, is when you go to sleep, you wake back up. Now your decision-making power is back. And so what a morning routine will do is it'll help simplify your decisions that you have to make throughout the day, your tasks, it'll help manage your energy, and that ultimately leaves you way more productive. The second one is if you win the morning, you win the day. So again, your decision-making power is not infinite, it's finite, it's limited. So when you first wake up, you're more well-rested, which means that your energy is at its highest point and you're able to make tough decisions. You're able to get things done more efficiently. And if you can get your hardest tasks done in the morning, imagine how much more empowered you'll feel throughout the day. Because if you did the hardest thing, the most daunting thing, it's like, oh, I already won the rest of the day. This is easy. And then the third one is it sets the tone for the day. So if you have a morning routine, you're essentially committing to your self-advancement. You're like, I'm going to be intentional about how I do life. So that just sets your tone for your day and it'll ripple through. And then the last one is self-explanatory. You can actually have some control of your schedule instead of letting your schedule control you. So it won't be like, oh, I couldn't do this because this person called, or I didn't have time to sit with myself. I didn't have time to meditate because I had to do X, Y, and Z. We want to shift that. I made time to meditate. I made time to talk to God. I made time to sit with myself. And doing this will allow you to do just that. So going to the next slide. Seeing that. Okay, so the first one, you heard Meagan talk about this a lot, is practicing gratitude. But you know what? Before we go through this, Meagan, did you explain all of your morning routine when we first talked, or is there anything else that you didn't mention that you do want to share?
That's the gist of it. Besides that, I'm really big on making my bed. Mm-hmm. And it's because, you know, it's like for me, when I first wake up, I can feel like a slight tinge of anxiety of like all the things I have to get done. So when I make my bed, it gives me a chance to slow down. It gives me a chance to think. It gives me a chance to unclutter my space in essence, mm-hmm. and to be intentional about just that one thing. For some reason, for me personally, it just makes me feel a little bit more organized and less chaotic and a little more like, okay, got this, did this, starting my day. And it just does something big for me. And I'm pretty sure I know why, but there's also part of me is like, I don't, fully understand it, but it just, for me, it brings a lot of peace.
Yeah, no, so that's actually number 2 on our list. So I'm glad that you already spoke to that. And just to sum up your morning routine, so no phone, you listen to a gospel song, you center yourself with God, you make your bed. That's your secret sauce for your morning.
Yeah, I mean, listening to a gospel song usually happens once I get in the car.
Gotcha.
But before I do anything, prayer, meditation, affirmations, read my word, then make my bed, then go on about my business. I might get on my phone at that point or something, but I just make sure the first thing I do is to press into God, and be intentional.
Make sure you're full. Okay, awesome. All right, y'all. So let's get into this template, and we're going to explain the whys behind things. The first one is practice gratitude. Simply because, have you guys heard the saying that, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are? That's a very true saying. And that's why practicing gratitude is so important, because the grateful mind is fixed on the best, and therefore it becomes the best. So once you're in a space where you have become the best, you're in that state, it can receive the best. Okay. And on top of that, when you're practicing gratitude, it's literally putting you in direct communication with the source from which those blessings came. So you immediately, when you express gratitude, you tapped into God. You have opportunity to communicate with him and to hear from him so that you can get that divine purpose and path that you need to walk accordingly. So practicing gratitude, I know it sounds, simple because we've been taught it since we were a kid, but unfortunately we kind of lose it throughout life, which is why we say practice gratitude. It has to be something you choose to do intentionally. So, and then the second one is make your bed. Like Meagan was saying, like it just makes her feel like she has some order. It calms the anxiety. And that's because success breeds success, which means if you do one thing and you reap good fruit from it, you're going to be more likely to do that again. It's like kind of hacking into your motivation, into your willpower. And plus, you'll get to come home to that success. You'll come home knowing like, I did that. Before you leave your day, you'll see, I made my bed. It automatically puts you in order. And then on top of all of that, your bed is where you rest. That's where your body recharges. That's where you power up. The least you can do is make it, it's important for you to make sure that you honor that space, because that's where your body charges up. So making your bed is super, super important too. Third one, Meagan, you got it?
Practice mindfulness. And I don't have the best eyes in the world, but I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Meditation increases memory and decreases anxiety. Prayer puts you in communication with God. Journaling gets rid of mind clutter. Yes, journaling is such a big thing. And that's what I was talking about earlier with list. When you can literally see everything in front of you and you don't have to think about, did I remember this? Did I remember that? Or, here's the thing I need to do, but you have specific ideas about how to get it done, or something you want to think about that might make it, not as stressful, or anything that you think about in terms of what you need to do in your day. If you write it down where you can see it, you literally can say, okay, I'm going to do 1 or 6 today, or I'm going to get through all of these, but I'm going to do it in this order. And it makes a big difference. And then with journaling, for me, that's another part of it, is it's like I'm working through everything that I want to accomplish, and I'm writing out my ideas and my thoughts. And then also on the flip side, if you're just going through something and you need to express yourself, a lot of times, like for instance, when I want to go off on someone on Instagram and I'm like, Lord, give me strength, for me to just write down my thoughts and how I feel, or even a response that I choose not to post, it just makes all the difference in the world. It just takes away all the anxiety and every single thought, because I just at least got to express it, or at least write down those thoughts and ideas. It's a game changer.
On the 4.
Moving increases our mood and mobility, ultimately helping us be more productive and happy. That's a fact. That's when it's like when I'm on, I get up, I work out. When I'm off, I'm off. And I can tell the difference in my day. But one thing that I love that Devon always says to me, in the morning when I decide to work out or struggling to get to a place where I want to work out, he always says, you'll never regret it. And for some reason that just sticks in my spirit, because I will never regret getting up and moving around and working out, and the benefit of that emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of that, I will never, ever regret deciding to do it. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why would you decide not to,
That's good. That's good. I love that. And to add on to that, guys, with this movement piece, don't feel like you need to be like, all right, so I'm working out, an hour a day or 5 times a week. If you don't already work out, don't give yourself that expectation, because this routine will work, but it only works if you'll do it. So what you don't want to do is start training yourself to break self-commitment. Y'all have to make this routine be something that you can actually honor on a daily basis. So if that means you need to start with a 2-minute stretch for the first 3 months, do that. Just do something to move your body physically, to honor your body physically. And same thing for the prayer and mindfulness, or for practicing mindfulness. You don't have to do all 3 of those things. Do what you need. If you feel like you want to, I'm going to just do prayer and I'm only pray for 1 minute. Do what you got to do. Do what's going to work for you. But I really love that. Like, you're not going to regret working out. Like, what you got to lose, I love that. And I'm going to start saying that too. The last thing is a game changer. We teach our girls in the Menternship to make MIT lists, which is most important task. And this list is simply 3 of the most important things that need to get done. Not 3 things you want to get done, but 3 things that are most important to get done. Again, when you guys wake up in the morning, you're well rested, you have the most fuel, you haven't made as many decisions. So if you can knock these out first, again, the rest of your day is gonna be like, oh, like I got that. So this MIT list, you guys will find, is actually gonna be a challenge to make, because we make to-do lists and there'll be like 25 things on it. But subconsciously, what that does is it overwhelms us. It makes us feel like we're not doing enough. And again, it goes back to feeling like you're burning out and you have so much to do. But if you had a list of like 15 things, the reality is that you probably wouldn't get that list done for like 2 weeks to a month, because it's just way too overwhelming. But if you decided, okay, let me break this into 3, you can have your whole list done in 5 days. Literally, if you just did those 3 things and took it day by day by day. So MIT lists are super, super important. And they also will help you to prioritize, which is another key factor in being productive and being able to build without burnout. So this, again, is not like a one size fits all. We're actually going to be sending you guys a worksheet that will allow you to like circle, okay, am I going to meditate? I'm going to do it for 2 minutes or 5 or 10 minutes. It'll have a section on there for you to write your most important task. You guys can print it out. You can put it on your phone. You can put it on the computer and like type your answers in, whatever works for y'all. But we want you to do this tomorrow. Like, we didn't hop on this call just for some fluff. We don't do that over here, okay? We want y'all to actually apply this tomorrow. And this is something that's not going to be like, oh, I got to get X, Y, and Z together before I do it. No, y'all can do this tomorrow. So I want y'all to do it tomorrow. We want y'all to put this into action, because it can really, really change your life. It can change your mindset. It can change everything. So if you guys experience some good stuff from this, post it on Instagram, tag me, tag Meagan, like, let us see what y'all are doing and start putting this to work, and keep us posted on if it helps you guys, okay?
And I did want to add, because I saw someone say, it has to work with your lifestyle. And that's true. Like, don't judge yourself. As you said earlier, sometimes I pray for 30 minutes. Sometimes I pray for 5. Sometimes I read half a chapter. Sometimes I read 2 sentences, and at the end of the day, just don't judge your process. Like, you'll continue to expand however you're supposed to, if you're supposed to. And the same thing with working out. You don't have to get up and go to the gym and go work out. It might just be a stretch. Don't judge your process. Just be in it and lock in for however many minutes or time span that you need. And if it's supposed to grow in a certain way, it will in its own time. And if what you're doing is just perfect, at the end of the day, it's just going to make a massive difference.
Thank you for emphasizing that. That's major too, because you can have this morning routine and print it out, but if you can't do it,
and then you feel bad and you're just like, oh, I didn't get it done. I used to do that too when I first started reading my word. I was like, well, if I didn't, and it's like at the end of the day, I do the best that I can do. I try to make it fit my lifestyle, but sometimes it's just fitting my day based on, how I woke up or what I have, and at the end of the day, God isn't judging me. He knows my heart. So I need to stop judging myself and just do the best I can. And it's going to be what it's going to be. And it's going to be great.
Yeah. Bring that grace. Bring that grace as y'all venture into that. Give yourself the same grace that y'all extend to other people. That's that part too. Yeah. Okay. Was that workshop helpful? Let's turn our mics on real quick.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
Yeah, it was great.
This has been crazy.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go. Okay. Awesome. Well, we got a few minutes left. We want to do Q&A now. So you guys can use the raise my hand option if you don't have it or it's hard to find, because me and Megan were trying to figure that out earlier. Just literally raise your hand. You'll just call on people and y'all can ask whatever questions you have, and then we'll wrap up with the group photo, aka we're going to take a screenshot. And then that'll be that. So anybody have questions?
I had a question. I had a question.
Go ahead, Christy.
Okay. So I wrote it down, so I might be reading. Okay, I said I feel like a lot of college students battle with the spirit of comparison. And when I say that, I mean like when we go to college, it's way different when you're like in middle school, high school. Like it's a different phase of your life. So like everything may not go as planned. So my question is, in your career, how do you deal with not comparing yourself to others?
The biggest thing for me was realizing that there is nobody like me. Even if my sister has the same mom and dad, we are unique unto ourselves, and what we can give the world and how we can give it and what we bring to the table is not like anybody else. So just having ownership over who I am. I don't have to be the prettiest. I don't have to be the most talented. I don't have to be any of those things. All I have to do is be me. And that's enough. And learning, in terms of like competition, when I used to go on auditions as a kid, people would try to encourage competition. And what I learned was like, you listen to people go in the room and, they do their take or whatever it is in life. But what I learned is that, again, I'm not like them and they're not like me. And there's no reason for me to compete with them, because no matter what, we're not bringing the same thing. And when I started to cheer for those people instead, and I started to get excited for them when they win, and I started to say like, what's theirs is theirs. I can't take it from them because it's not mine. And what's mine is mine. They cannot take it from me because it's not theirs. So why would we compete with each other at the end of the day, And so once I started to really grasp the idea of like, what God has for me, no man can take. There's no reason for 2 women or 3 women or whatever to walk into a room and feel like I got to compete with you. If it's yours, you're going to get it. There's nothing I can do. If it's mine, I'm going to get it. There's nothing you can do. But what I can do outside of that is, if it is yours, be excited for you and be very, very happy for you, and, acknowledge you being blessed, because that blesses all of us at the end of the day. So I feel like the biggest thing is just mindset, reminding yourself to think about things in the way that they actually are, versus the sometimes emotional reactions that we have that, emotions sometimes can be very deceiving. They're not always the truth. They're just sometimes how we feel. And so just reprogramming that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I actually have 2 questions, but I'm going to keep it short because I know some other people might have questions. One thing that I battle with is feeling like that I'm not enough. So I really just want to know, like, have you ever felt like that, and just feeling like you aren't good enough for maybe a goal that you have or your dreams? I'm sorry, if anybody knows me, I get emotional sometimes, so I'm trying not to get choked up. But yeah, if you could just talk about how that experience, or if you ever felt like that.
Yeah, I still feel like that sometimes, you know.
Wow.
I think we all to some degree feel like that at certain times in our lives. And you know, it's like even growing up in this business, you know, or even where I grew up as a child, you know, dealing with living in an all white neighborhood and constantly being told that I'm not enough and constantly being told that I'm not attractive, and then getting into the business, and then there's, you know, all this competition, and you go through so much rejection. For every one job that you get, 15 people told you they don't want you, you know. And I had to learn that it's not that they don't want me, it's just that I'm not right for it, and I have to stop taking things so personally. And there's moments now, you know, when I go to like the Essence brunch, or it's like, you know, in my mind I feel like people have preconceived notions of me, and I'm like, well, I haven't gotten an award for this yet, or I haven't been considered for this, you know, am I enough? Or, you know, and it's like all that stuff goes through your head, and at the end of the day, we just, again, have to program our mind. God made us perfectly imperfect. We're exactly who we're supposed to be and exactly who we're growing into. That is all of who we are. And God made us worthy, and we deserve his best. And it doesn't matter what we've been through, what we've done, what's been done to us, what we've experienced, who told us we weren't, you know, talented enough, attractive enough, capable enough, you know, all that stuff. None of that stuff matters, because God says that we are all those things and so much more. And it's really just about changing your mind about yourself, you know, getting up every day and telling yourself, like, I'm worthy, I'm dope, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'm capable. You know, in moments where you don't feel capable, it's like you always find, if you just stick with yourself and trust yourself, that you are capable, that you can do even the thing that you thought that you couldn't do. You will figure it out. God will lead you through it. You will be fine. It's always going to be fine. It's always going to be more than okay. And it's really just about what we tell ourselves and the messaging that ultimately goes from here to here. And, you know, and I'm still, even now, I have to remind myself sometimes, but every time I remind myself, it just goes back into my spirit. I'm like, got it. Okay, cool. I'm going to be fine. It's going to be great.
Wow. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. If somebody wants to go, I'll wait for my last question.
To someone else, just so that we can make sure everybody gets their questions.
Okay, I had a really quick question. Earlier, you spoke about the importance of lists, so I'm wondering what your criteria is, if any, when preparing to add something new to the list or to start a new venture. Is it a level of success with something you did before, or kind of how do you know when to add on?
I think I'm not sure I understand your question completely.
So at what point do you feel prepared to move on to a new venture or to tackle something new?
Sometimes it's just when I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with the first list. Other times it's like that thing that I want to accomplish may take a lot of time. It may take months, it may take years. So sometimes when I something else, it's just because that's something I want to do in that moment, or I'm passionate about, or I'm excited about. Like, you know, right now on my list, I have, you know, the things that I want to do this week that are intentional, that I want to, you know, build out, just being with y'all, talking to y'all, and different things like that. But then also, you know, I'm directing this music video, and I'm also developing this show about Black millionaires, and like all these different things. And I just, you know, sometimes I'll add, sometimes I will say, you know what, I'll wait to do this till next month, or I might do some of the work on it, but the big work I'll wait for next month and I'll finish this thing first. Or sometimes I'll do it simultaneously. But at the end of the day, what I try to do is have joy in my heart and make sure that whatever I'm getting involved in and that I'm lending my time to, or I'm focusing my energy on, is something that gives me joy, something that gives me peace. And if I don't have that choice because it just has to be done, then I just, you know, choose to have a certain amount of the day that I commit to that. And then the other part of it, again, for me. And then if I add something, it's something for me that I need, that makes me feel good. You know, does that make sense? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have a question.
Oh,
Okay.
Hi.
You got time for one more. Megan, you want to pick the last one?
Well, yeah, because she came in first and she also got cut off earlier and she didn't get to finish introducing herself too. But I'll also take like two more.
Okay.
So I want to go back to the young lady who had a second question for me as well.
Okay, cool.
Where'd she go?
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I'm right here. Hi.
Okay, got you. There you go.
Hi, Megan. Actually, a quick two-part question. The first is, how do you, from a godly perspective, how do you define joy? And my second question is, whenever you lose faith in your path in terms of like just uncertainty of whether or not that's for you in God's eyes, how do you go about that? And how do you know that what you're going for is what God wants you to do?
I ask. I literally like take it before the altar. Before I make a decision to move on my own, I literally am just like, and I just talk to God like the way I know how to talk to him, which is like, Dad, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here. I don't know if this is what you have for me. I need you to make it plain. I need you to like be very, very clear with me so that I can understand and I know I'm doing the right thing and I can have peace and I can hear you when you're ordering my steps. Or I can hear you very clear when you are not ordering my steps. But I just talk to him and I'm like, you know my heart, I want to do the right thing. So I'm leaving it up to you to give me the answer and to give me the clarity that I need and to make it plain so that I know what to do. And that's, how I approach decisions that I make, things I get involved with, even stuff that like, there's definitely been things that I got involved with. And as I was in it, God was like, that's not what I told you to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I've been doing it for like 2 months. And he's like, that's not what I told you to do. And I'm like, damn it. So then I have to, pull myself kindly out of it. But I also know that by being obedient, it'll be fine. If people are upset that I'm stepping away or they feel away, at the end of the day, they're not fooling my people in that season because I'm being obedient, and anybody who's in tune or in line with what God has for my life and vice versa, they're not going to be mad. They're going to get it. So, and then the first question was about joy.
Yes. How do you define joy from a God perspective?
I think it starts with peace for me. When I know I'm in tune and I feel like I'm in alignment, and I just have that peace, then joy just springs from that. Because I'm like, yes, I'm getting it right. I'm doing the right thing. Like God is in it. And like, he is, honoring me because I am trying my best to honor him. And when I'm in alignment with God, everything else is just so much sweeter, so much better. And that peace is what really gives me the joy.
Okay, thank you.
A question.
I had a Bible study last night about joy, so I was just curious on how you define joy.
Oh, amen. How did you define it? How did you define it?
I define joy as being able to see all of God's goodness in the world and all of his good works, whether it's in people or in just things or just things that happen. I think I feel joy when I'm able to look at a situation and see his good works and the goodness out of it, and God's will, rather than nitpicking the negative surface level things. I feel like it's in my nature too, because we're human.
Amen. Amen. Love that.
I have a question.
Hi.
Hi. It's so nice to meet you and everyone else that's in the chat. But I felt like it was only right to ask you this question since you're my role model.
Thank you.
I had a question. It's based on like how to become comfortable with being yourself when it comes to dating and building relationships when God is involved.
Mm-hmm. Anybody that's for you will ultimately line up with that. And I think the hard thing is that, you learn along the way that a lot of people aren't necessarily meant to be in your life that way. And it's very, very clear when they don't honor you, respect your belief, support you. And even if it's not specific support, it's just respect for your choices. When people aren't in alignment with that, that's when you have the clarity to say, okay, so this is not my partner. This is not my husband. This is not my boyfriend. This sometimes is not my friend, and at the end of the day, it sucks because you have to push a lot of people out of the way as you go along, but it's also a blessing because you don't get caught up in friendships that aren't what you think they are, relationships that take you 3 years down the road and you feel like, and you realize that it's not what you thought it was, or, you know, the potential husband that you think is the guy. And then now, you know, it's 2-3 years later and you're like, oh, it's not the guy. It really helps you discern those things. And sometimes it can almost feel lonely because you have such clarity on what is and what isn't, but it's a blessing because those who don't have that clarity and they go into these situations, they come out with so much more baggage. They come out with so much more damage, unfortunately. And of course, God can heal all of that, but you save yourself a lot of grief by allowing God to make it clear for you and having confidence in who you are. You know, when I first decided to become celibate, I knew that was what God was telling me to do. And people were like, well, aren't you afraid that guys won't want to date you? And I'm like, well, if someone doesn't want to date me because they can't have sex with me right now, then I don't want to date that person. And I sure as hell don't want to go 4 years down the line thinking that a person is different than what they actually are and being confused because I'm so caught up in the physical aspect of it and the need for them physically that I can't see who they are, you know, at the core. And like when me and Devon got together and we, you know, were celibate, the way that it took me about probably 4 years to learn my ex-boyfriend, the way that I got to learn Devon in 3 months, because there was no confusion. There was nothing else pulling me in any other way. I could immediately say, do I like you as a human being? Can I spend a lifetime with you? Would I be happy with you? Are we going the same place in life? You know, what is your purpose? Is it connected to mine? You know, all that stuff. I didn't even ask those questions with my ex because I was too busy having sex and being like connected in the relationship in a physical way that I realized 4 years down the line, I don't actually like you as a human being. Like, I love you, God bless you, I pray for you, but I don't actually like, you're not my people that way. And I didn't know. I didn't know for 4 years. So it's, at the end of the day, you save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of time when you do things the way that you feel God is calling you to do it in your spirit. And anybody who doesn't respect it or get it, that's just not your tribe right now. And that's okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like you said, at 19, you found yourself transitioning between being a child actor and starting to take on more mature roles. And as I mentioned before, I'm finding myself in a transition where I'm starting to take myself more seriously. It's more so I'm interested in journalism and documentary filmmaking. But what would you say was most helpful for sort of getting out of that or navigating out of that period of sort of feeling like confusion or making the transition, making the pivot? Was it external? Was it, okay, I'm going to do this check off all these things on a checklist, you know, maybe change my agent, get headshots, things like that? Or was it more internal work that ultimately allowed you to navigate out of that period?
A little bit of what I realized is that I can't rush it. It's going to take its natural course. And what I had to give in those particular seasons as I was transitioning was unique to where I was in life at that time. 2 years from now, you're not going to be giving the same thing. 2 years before, you were not giving the same thing as what you're giving right now. So it's a very specific and unique time. And I think it's okay to embrace, you know, that as your transition happens and not really like rushing it. God's in it. And, you know, and taking yourself seriously, it's a beautiful thing, but don't take yourself too seriously because all of the essence of what you bring is unique. You know what I'm saying? Like just that smile, you know, that is part of what you bring to the table and who you are. So just embracing all of that in every season as you transition. Like for me at that age, I was trying so hard to like I'm 19, but I'm playing, you know, 16, 17, trying so hard to be that girl that it took me a minute to realize, like, I'm going to be an adult for the rest of my life. Like, why am I trying to rush the finish line? If I can play 16 for another 5-6 years, well, here's what I bring. I bring a maturity. I bring a knowingness. I bring some wisdom, some life experience that some other 16-year-old doesn't have, but I have because I'm actually 21. So I'm just going to milk that season and let it be what it is. Because here's the thing, I will get to 28, 29, 30. That's coming no matter what. So I'll deal with that season when that comes and see what I bring in that season. I'll see what happens when I get married and what I bring in that season. Now I get to see what happens when I have kids and see what will I bring to the table then, or when I get into my 50s, 60s, and I'm not even caring about anything else. I'm just, you know, it's like, what kind of actress, what kind of artist, what kind of person will I be in that season? And just being okay with letting it all, you know, don't rush to get there, and know that everything you bring is perfect for where you are right now, and just keep pressing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Megan, I have a question. Oh, okay.
I
used to go.
Really, really quick, because I really want to be respectful of your time. I know you said you wanted to circle back to Aaron, who had the second question. Just let me know if we're good to take more, or how many more can you take?
I think we're gonna do, is it Tara?
Tara.
Tara. So maybe we'll do Tara and then Aaron, and then I saw Brooke like about 5 minutes ago said she wanted to say something as well.
Okay, dope, cool.
Okay. My question is, like, what advice would you give to someone who wants to like start building something or start something they're passionate about, but feels like they don't have like a strong support system that would help them to like get themselves like out there in the public, stuff like that?
I think that, you know, a lot of things that I wanted to do, like directing and producing, I didn't have any support. A lot of people were just like, just be an actress, like just do that. And I would talk to my team or like whoever, and I'd be like, can someone help me, because I don't actually know how to do this, and like I just don't feel like I have any support. I don't know what to do. And what I learned was the best way to do it is to just start. You know, I just started like Googling, like, what does a producer do? And like, you know, okay, I can do this, that, and the other. You know, I was like, okay, here's like a project, you know, or here's a script, or let me have a friend, you know, add more to it, or whatever it is. I just started doing it. And what I didn't know, I learned as I went along. And I made mistakes for sure. But at the end of the day, there's just sitting back and not doing it because you don't have the support. And then there's like, I'm just going to get out there and just keep pushing at it. And I'm going to learn as I go along, and I will gain support as I go along. And you also gain respect in what it is you're trying to accomplish as you go along. But at the end of the day, it was just a choice between doing it or not doing it. And if it's something you're passionate about and you want to do, just start whatever that process is. But if you don't know what that process is, ask questions. Google, you know, research other people that you respect that are taking that lane. What was their story? How did they get started? Just do everything in your power to just start making that move. And also understand that some people are not going to get your vision, and some people are not going to support you, and some people are not going to believe in you. And that's okay. As long as you believe in you and you know that this is what God would have you to do, you'll be just fine. And the people who are supposed to be with you on it, they will be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think okay, this is my second question. I'm not sure about everyone, but I know growing up, I always heard people talk about, you know, if you get famous, you know, you got to have the city on your back. You got to kind of carry everybody with you. And when you kind of got to reach back and give back to others, have you ever felt that pressure? Feeling like, you know, you might have had your family that you have to, you know, you got to make it for your family, you got to make it for your friends or your community. And if you could speak on that a little bit, I think that's something that I think we all face. Just be thinking in your mind, like, I want to be the successful person out of the family and make sure everybody else makes it or make sure everyone else is good. Just speaking on that pressure and that stress.
I used to carry a lot of that pressure. You know, I've probably made millions of dollars, and I would look up and I would have nothing to show for it because I was always helping everyone else. I was, you know, letting people live with me, paying some people's rents, you know, helping a friend if their car broke down, you know. I always tried to bring people with me, and what I would look up and realize is that I was completely depleting myself, and that I wasn't in a position to do that yet. Even though I seem to be in a good position on the outside looking in, I could have a movie in theaters and still be struggling to pay my bills because I was giving so much to everybody else. And I definitely put that pressure on myself, and I definitely felt almost like guilt that I was doing well and that there was so much opportunity coming, and I want, you know, my sister to have this, my brother to have that, and my mom to have this. And almost feeling bad for like doing well. And so I just give away, and then I would just be stressed out and like feeling kind of used, even though I put myself in the situation. And it really took like, honestly, one of the biggest things that helped was getting married, because Devon is like, no, we're not doing it. And I'm like, but such and such. He's like, nope, we're not doing it. I'm like, okay, you know. But it helped for me to ultimately decide, like, that isn't my responsibility. And sometimes you do stuff that God did not ask you to do because you have a bleeding heart, or because you feel guilty, or because of whatever it is, you're just trying to be a good person, and like that's what you feel like God would want you to do. You have to ask God those questions, because sometimes you're overextending yourself and that's not what he wants you to do. Sometimes you're giving to somebody and he actually wants you to give to someone else, but now you ain't got nothing to give them because you're giving it to this person. You know what I'm saying? So I just stopped feeling guilty, and I'm like, at the end of the day, God has allowed this, and it's not because I'm perfect. It's because he's allowed it. And I'm going to be spirit-led on what I do and who I help. And I'm not going to feel bad for the things that, you know, I've worked very, very hard for. And, you know, it's like I still help my mom, but it's like a lot of other people that I was helping, I cut all that stuff off because I was like, it's not what God would have me to do. So I don't think that it's always our responsibility to bring everyone with us, unless it's something that God puts in your heart and your spirit, and don't lean on your own view being a good person. Let God tell you what being a good person means, not you.
Wow, thank you. That's good.
You're welcome.
So good. Okay, Brooke, you want to go? You gonna wrap us up?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so hey everybody, again, my name is Brooke Garland, just so you guys can remember if you're looking for me. But my last question was, what is your go-to networking tips that aid in growing your following or community and your business, things that you can just kind of help, being that this is part of building your career too?
Authenticity. What I learned along the way is like, the truer I am to myself, the more I'm gonna win, you know. And at the end of the day, everything that I've been able to accomplish outside of being an actress, but as a director, producer, an author, an activist, whatever it is, all that stuff came from just being authentic and being honest and being transparent and being exactly who I am. That's how you win. You know, when they say stuff like, you know, be yourself, everybody else is taken, is true. How you gain success is by being the most authentic version of you, and seeing the world the way that you see it, and trusting your instincts and being prayerful. That's what's going to get you to where you want to go. And yes, you should always, you know, observe other people that you respect and that you feel like are doing something similar to what you want to do and what their process and journey was. But at the end of the day, that stuff is just like stepping stones of information. It's ultimately going to come down to you just being true, because that's what God really wants to bless.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm so full right now. Thank you so much, Meagan, for answering all these questions, for taking time out your day. Your heart is like, we can see it. The fact that you wanted to be here. You said earlier when someone asked you about prioritizing, you were like, I decide what things are priority to me, like getting on with you ladies. You make people feel seen. And so I thank you for that. And I salute the God in you. And it's just so great to experience your presence, and to hear all of these words of wisdom that you dropped. I told everyone yesterday via email that you were so kindly going to gift everyone a Good Girl wrap. So thank you for that. On top of this, like you, like literally it's like, no, I'm gonna do a little bit more. Like you just keep going, even extending the time for questions. Like, I just appreciate you so much. Ladies, we're going to send you a form where you'll be able to send us your addresses so we can make sure that we get you your items as soon as we can. Thank you so much, Meagan, for joining us. I pray that the rest of your day is blessed. Y'all say bye to Meagan, show her love.
Thank y'all for having me.
Bye.
And I
Thank
like,
you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you, Megan.
thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you.
So good.
I'm so thankful to be here with y'all. And like, you know, it's like they're like what we're supposed to be doing in life is like, that's the one thing that we all have in common is like helping and being there for each other, no matter what our purpose is, no matter what God has for us. That's the thing that we all have in common. So just being able to be here with y'all, it just makes my heart smile, and y'all have poured into me too. And I'm like an emo person, so I like cry at like Swiffer Jet commercials. So, but I thank you guys for taking the time to get on with us and for being here and for even wanting to talk to me. And I love y'all, and God bless y'all.
We love
God bless you, Megan.
Bless you. I pray it all comes back tenfold. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Amazing.
All right, y'all. Keep out for an email. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
What about the screenshot?
Oh, right. I'm so sorry. You gotta
Oh, right.
take a photo. Okay, so I feel like we should do one cute one and then we'll do one silly one. That's cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we'll take a
Good.
screenshot on our end, but feel free to screenshot if you want it on your own computer, if you want your picture positioned a certain way. All right, we getting cute. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Okay, now we can get silly. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, it didn't work. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, now we can go. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.